Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to ALZ Talks. My name is Sarah Murphy, and I'm the Vice President for Programs and Services at the Alzheimer's Association Greater Pennsylvania Chapter. And the vision of the Alzheimer's Association is a world without Alzheimer's disease and all other dementia. And the Alzheimer's Association is the leading voluntary health organization in Alzheimer's care support and research. Thank you all so much for joining us today to talk about healthy brain habits. I'm excited to lead the conversation today with some stellar volunteer community educators and leaders across Pennsylvania about taking charge of their brain health. The conversation today will talk about some healthy habits that we can help to lower the risk of cognitive decline and possibly dementia, and share practical tips to build these into your everyday routines from our panelists today. And know that brain health is so important for all ages. Joining me today for our few community members from Pennsylvania area, we have Dorothy, Lori, and Jacqueline. So we're going to start off with some quick introductions. So we'll start with Dorothy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dorothy Yam, and I'm a medical student here at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm also a volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association. I have a background in neuroscience, and I hope to go into neurology one day, so I'm always happy to chat about the brain.
Thanks. All right, Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Klein, and my background is that I have a doctorate in education and a master's in public health and a bachelor's in nutrition. And I work with Penn State Extension, where we have a great collaborative effort with the Alzheimer's Association. So I volunteer as a community educator to share all of the amazing information on how nutrition and our brains are connected, and yeah, everything is all connected. So that's kind of my passion area.
Thank you, Lori. And Jacqueline.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Rupel. I have my doctorates in health administration. I am a retired nurse practitioner, and I also do community education for the Alzheimer's Association.
Great, thank you so much. This webinar series is supported by Procter Gamble and is organized and arranged by the Alzheimer's Association. So, as we talked about healthy habits, we are so excited to have a new resource at the Alzheimer's Association detailing the science-backed healthy habits for brain health. And here is a quick glance of our 10 healthy habits for your brain. This resource can be found at alz.org/healthyhabits. And a couple of background points to share before we dive into the conversation today is incorporating healthy habits is important for everyone's brain health, including those that have a family history of dementia. And we know that making healthy changes can be hard, so starting small can lead to really big differences. And finding what makes sense for you, because we're all different. And to add on to the healthy things you're already doing and how you can fit that into your everyday life can be really key to success. So today, as you heard, we have some phenomenal women here, leaders in Pennsylvania, really to discuss a few of the healthy habits. And the most important thing is to share how they incorporate these habits into their everyday life. And hopefully some of these ideas will be helpful for you as well. So we're going to kick off the healthy habit with sleep. And I know as a busy mom, I know sleep can be imperative, right, for us. And so, Dorothy, I know good quality sleep and that topic is so important for brain health, but you're also very passionate about this. So talk to us a little bit about how you integrate good sleep into your everyday life.
Oh, thank you for that. For sure, I've grown very interested in sleep, especially this past year. In part due to research, but also due to my own personal reasons, because I've had troubles with sleep in the past. I had long periods of time in which sleep, especially as a student, was put on the back burner. And I owe a lot of gratitude to those who have promoted the principles of sleep hygiene, because I've noticed huge changes in my sleep and therefore well-being by adopting some simple principles about sleep hygiene. The way I would define sleep hygiene is being intentional about when we sleep, how we sleep, where we sleep, and how we treat the space where we sleep, because ultimately sleep is a time for like reset and repair, and it's sacred, and so it should be treated as such. And so one of the ways in which this manifests for me is I try to bring no stressful work of any sort near my sleeping space. I have a no laptop policy.
Oh, wow. No screens. Yep.
Yeah, no screens, no laptops, no phone screens. And I know a lot of people, myself included, we're guilty for we know that maybe looking at a bright screen before bed, like looking on our phones, for example, is not recommended, but people do it anyway. But the fact of the matter is that, bright lights are meant to awaken us, like we evolved on a planet that rotates, that has sunlight and darkness. And generally, the more we are in sync with that, the better we feel. And so putting on bright lights near you before bed really does worsen sleep. And on that note, I know some people have heard of happy lamps, especially if they live in less sunny areas. Beyond just happy lamps, just having bright light in the morning is really helpful. One thing that I started doing was putting on a bright light within 30 minutes or so of waking, and then that helps me naturally wake up, so I don't wake up to a really loud alarm sometimes because that's frightening. Yeah, and so the light has been important, both avoiding screens before bed and then promoting more bright lights in the morning when you're trying to wake up regularly. But then I also wanted to say that, having gone through stressful periods where, I'm trying to go to sleep, I'm sure people can relate to the feeling of not being able to turn off your brain before sleep because you might be stressed about something, anxious about something. And so one thing that I've adopted is say if I can't fall asleep within a certain period of time, say an hour, instead of stressing and forcing sleep, you just get up, maybe go to a dimly lit area. I try to read until I get tired again, and I go back to bed and try again, because again, that's minimizing the negative associations with sleep. And that really has helped me personally. And again, as a way to keep sleep sacred.
Yeah, and for me, I like rain sounds. I put my rain sounds on, different sounds and things like that help me to go to sleep also.
Yeah, for me, it's so funny, Dorothy, you talk about having an alarm in the morning, and I actually almost have done the opposite in our house. I realized how long it actually takes to get everyone to move towards sleep and quiet. And so we have a set time where everything goes off, screens get plugged in one space that's away from sleeping space. And I've noticed, it takes time, right? It wasn't necessarily an overnight process, but what I have noticed is the only alarm I ever need is the coffee pot on a timer turning on in the morning, right? It's so quiet because it usually is before sunrise, but I notice that I don't really need an alarm clock anymore in the morning, just at night to tell us it's time to start going to bed.
Right. Well, and I think what I'm hearing is do what you can to minimize distractions. I think going back to screens, that can really be something, I do my best online shopping right before bed, right? So it's something that, I know I personally am trying to work on. And something else when you think about sleep is if you have any sleep related problems, right, such as sleep apnea, really important to talk to a healthcare provider, right? And I love what you said, Dorothy, about sleep hygiene. I don't think I had heard that before until you mentioned that. So I think that's something that we really all could benefit from. So I think as we think about this, really a key message here, if you're struggling with your sleep, discuss this with your doctor. We also know that it's really good to have good quality sleep, and hopefully there's some tips that you all share that can help everyone here today. We're going to graduate to another healthy habit, physical activity. So engaging in regular exercise, right? This includes anything that raises your heart rate and increases good blood flow to the brain and your body. So we all know that this is important, right? But also when I say exercise, right, Jacqueline, or I say physical activity, it can be intimidating, right? But we're not talking about, okay, immediately go out and run a marathon, right? What are we talking about when we talk about adopting good, healthy habits regarding your physical activity?
everyone can exercise, and you don't have to join a gym or spend, money doing, buying equipment. Exercise is free. Just walking, getting out, working in your gardening, just anything that keeps you moving and increase your blood flow and oxygen to the brain. That's what's important. Managing that good oxygen and blood flow to the brain. For me, I take my mother. She's getting older. She just celebrated birthday Sunday, and she turned 88 years old. Very proud of her. And to keep her busy and keep her active, she goes to the grocery store. Well, while we out there, while she's being distracted, she likes to shop and do her grocery shopping. She walks, and most often, by the time we get back to the car and we get the groceries in the car, I look at my, my Fitbit, or you can have an Apple Watch, and she's already walked 5,000 steps, and she thinks about, oh my gosh, I'm tired, but in the meantime, she hadn't even thought about it. She just moving and keeping busy, and things like that are very important. Even standing up during commercials run 3 to 4 minutes. You can stand, do, walking in place, get a can of peas. They're about, a little weight to them, lifting them up and using arm exercises. Just little things like that can keep you moving and keep you active. So those are little hints to keep you going.
I love that. Especially during those commercials. I could imagine you with those things of peas, right? I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dorothy, you were going to mention.
Yeah, and even like if for anybody who has, trouble having a regimented like gym schedule, like for something that worked for me that I really enjoy is dancing, because it's also like a creative outlet. It's you do it with people, and it's just very engaging in that way. So I've enjoyed that.
So can I ask, what type of dancing is this? What
Yeah.
exactly type of dance do you do?
Various. I learned some salsa, some bachata, some belly dance, but then also just, sometimes just dancing with friends, like going out and stuff like that. But there's so many different ways to be active, and that's something I really appreciated learning more about and engaging with.
Yeah, line dancing.
We've done that, Jacqueline, a little bit of that. Well, it's social, right?
Yes.
You're increasing your heart rate. I think that's great. So, Jacqueline, have you tried line dancing, or you just
Yes, I love it. I love it.
I didn't know that. Have you in the
Yes.
past, or have you continued to do
I
that?
I continue. I'm learning, even, I go out with friends and they learning how to do line dancing, and they teach me, and we just have fun. Even if you don't keep up with everybody, just still do it. Nobody even worries about it. Yeah.
The key is fun. So you
Yes.
are continuing to do good for the brain, right? You're exercising, but
Right.
you're so distracted by having the word fun with dancing and you're with your friends. So I love
Right.
that.
Right.
Well, just like everyone has their own favorite, the idea of dancing makes me a little nervous.
Same here, Lori.
But I mean, it's so great. Even when I think I'm tired at the end of the day, I just love going out for a walk with the dogs and, being outside and, hanging out with the pets after a day brings me so much energy, and that's what's fun for me. But I think that's the big thing, right? It's like the key word is that physical activity is fun.
Fun.
And it's so good for all the connected parts of our body, right? Our
That's it.
brains. And it also really helps control our blood pressure and diabetes, which is also really important for the brain.
Yes.
It's so important to know your numbers and what your blood pressure is, and make sure that your diabetes is under control. Talk to your healthcare providers. So physical activity kind of starts that, and nutrition is also really great. And when we think about like our diet, sometimes we hear that, word about these are the diets that are great for us, and we automatically cringe and think, oh, that means I can't eat a whole bunch of things, right? But there's some really simple ways, diet's just like what you eat. It's your eating plan. So there are those diets that are always on the top. Again, this year, the Mediterranean style diet and the DASH diet, dietary approaches to stop hypertension. But really, they just have in common that there are a lot of fruits and vegetables, a lot of colors and whole grains, and that's where we're looking to get all our vitamins and minerals. And the great thing is, even in January in Pennsylvania, when there aren't so many local fruits and vegetables available, and they get a little expensive in the fresh produce, but we can get frozen and canned. And you know, when we get canned, there are a lot of no salt, no sugar options. But even if you can't find those, you can rinse off your fruits and veggies under cold water. And really just keep it simple. I always think about like how much color can I get on my plate through fruits and vegetables, and that eating the rainbow really helps with blood pressure and your blood sugar levels, and limiting some of the processed foods.
And
And
that's
Laura, I
true.
love what you did there. So I liked how we segued beautifully from physical activity. And I think from what I heard there is movement. Movement. How can you find ways to build movement into your everyday life? So I love the diversity here we have from dancing. Dancing does not sound like fun for me, myself or Lori, right? But walking, right? You know, doing an everyday activity like going to Walmart, right, Jacqueline, like you said, with your mom, and little do you realize what 20 or so minutes later you look at your Fitbit and like how many steps did I take? So such a great diverse group of folks here sharing a little bit about the different ways that they can find movement. I think that's the key message there. And as we graduate into the healthy habits, as you remember on the screen there, controlling your blood pressure and managing diabetes. And so, you know, Laura, I think you really fantastic ideas. I know that from back in my nutrition days, you know, I remember my advisor was saying, like, if you open up your refrigerator and you see all colors of the rainbow, or if you know the foods are going to go bad quickly, that's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
And so I know, Jacqueline, you know, we talk about sometimes, you know, eating healthy can be expensive, but I know you had some tips as well, as Lori was kind of sharing a few there. But what's your insight on really that overall in nutrition?
Like she was mentioning, you can, you know, a lot of our patients, sometimes they have limited income. Just buying canned foods, you can rinse that out, get that out, and then just learning not to just have salt and pepper. Using various seasonings can help. And when you see things are going bad, make a soup, you know, roast carrots and things like that. Or just, you know, it doesn't always have to have meat in it, but you want to take whatever you have left, vegetables before they go bad, make a nice soup, make, you know, get some chicken broth or anything else, and just use those things. You can even rinse off, you know, have the canned fruits in the can, just rinse some of that sugar stuff off of there and just have something there that's more healthy for you, so that you can make sure that you get a good diet in,
I
so
know
you
how
can stay on your
difficult that
budget.
is.
Yeah.
See what a budget and how difficult that is too. For those of you who have kids, right? So we talked
Oh,
about the importance of that, this brain health, and the importance of this throughout the lifespan. That is so difficult. So if y'all have good recipes, right, that good healthy fruits and vegetables, and I think that's so important. You know, Dorothy, I think, you know, it's really about keeping things simple too. When we talk about, you know your numbers, right? I think making sure that you have that conversation about, you know, and what are those numbers, right? Lori, talk about blood sugar, glucose, your blood pressure, cholesterol. All of that is important conversations, right, with your provider, and to be aware of that. But Dorothy, so what do you do? How do you keep things simple? Any tips that you have?
Yeah, so for me personally, I know that sometimes when I look in my fridge, like it's all like I like to it's hard to sometimes look in your fridge and be like, I have nothing to eat. But for me, sometimes I just enjoy like experimenting sometimes with like different putting things together, like whatever I do have, and getting creative with it. Because again, it's another one of those like outlets that you can use. So although like and also on the topic of canned foods, I know like frozen like vegetables and frozen fruits, like people have sometimes negative associations with that, but those are like collected at like peak ripeness
right.
and then frozen immediately. And so I try to again like not have any negative associations with like, you know, those unprocessed good foods, because it's important to maximize level of like natural foods that we eat. And there's so many ways to do it. And so not limiting yourself, not like that's one thing that I try to employ when I look in my fridge and try to think about what to eat. Yeah.
Great, yeah. And Lori, do you have any last suggestions of limiting the processed foods and sodium? I know you mentioned like herbs, maybe spices versus salt. Do you have any other suggestions with that? Because that could be a challenge too, because we like our flavor, right? But how important that is to limit that process and sodium in your foods.
Yeah, herbs and spices are great. We think about like basil and rosemary, and indoor herb gardens are fantastic if that's something that brings you some brightness in winter, and you can just pick it off, super easy to grow. But also, I would say things like lemon juice and lime juice are very easy to add to foods to brighten them. Vinegar, nice balsamic. It gets, you put a little balsamic vinegar on some fruit and it tastes amazing, and there's no added sugar, right? But it's a very fancy elevated dessert all of a sudden. So fruit for dessert, and this time of year on that fruit for dessert, like we love to take apples or pears after dinner, just cut them in half and stick them in the oven, and then they get all hot and soft and delicious. And again, you can sprinkle nuts or oats on them, and
That's good brain food, right? We talk about the
yeah,
vitamin E and the rich with
walnuts.
walnuts and almonds. That's a good snack. I love that. That's good.
Mhm.
Well, and our last healthy habit, because we're getting there, right? With challenging your mind. So, really, as we think about this healthy habit, it's all about being curious, right? So, putting your brain to work and doing something that's really new for you. It's not about, doing an algebraic equation or something really challenging, but it could be learning a new skill, right? So, really being curious. And so, Dorothy, I know that you have some new hobbies or some things that you have taken up. So talk to us a little bit about how you challenge your mind.
Yeah, challenging the brain looks, as you mentioned, like different for everyone, and that's really the beauty of it. It's really nice to be able to reflect on what you simultaneously enjoy, like as a hobby, and also what's challenging for you. And for me personally, like one of the ways in which I've tried to challenge my brain is by learning new languages. And I speak three, but like I usually sometimes if I'm ever trying to read in a foreign language, like I literally joke and saying that I feel my brain getting a workout. But it's true, it is a it is a workout in some way. But even that, like beyond that, it's not just language, it's not just math, it's not like any one thing, it's also art. And for me, like I have a lot of like little hobbies that I like engaging with. I began collaging. I've done photography for a while. I love upcycling, like to make little jewelries and jewelry pieces. And another thing I tried to learn recently was sewing. And I think sewing is a great example because some people might have learned sewing just like from their parents or grandparents, but like, and might not see it as like a way to challenge your brain, but like it's pretty complicated. It takes a lot of dexterity. It's like you literally have to take something two-dimensional and make it three-dimensional. And so it's pretty complicated. And it just there's so much to appreciate and there's so much to be curious about. And your horizons broaden when you stay curious. And so it's an exciting thing to think about. And it's nice to think of it as like, oh, this is also good for your brain because it's just a naturally kind of enjoyable thing to like really reflect on and think about.
Enjoyable, and it's not frustrating, right? We don't want to do anything that frustrates you. It should be enjoyable. I think that's a good point there, Dorothy.
Yeah, and I wanted to add with Dorothy, the dancing, even line dancing, learning a routine.
Yeah.
When dancing, you have to know how to dance with your partner, remembering the steps. That helps with a lot of brain activity.
For sure.
Yeah, it's anything new, right? Really get your brain fired up. Like I love how Dorothy said, like she can feel it, she feel her brain growing. I also think, that just that idea of whatever the challenge for you. I know in our house we love when my husband and I are both home in the evening. On those days, we love to just play a couple quick games, and we might be a little competitive, and we always talk about how important it is like if somebody wins, we say, oh, you must have been paying attention. Like, it's not that you're better or smarter, but you were really focused.
Yeah,
And so
Yeah.
brain was really turned on.
That's right. That's right. And and what we know about challenging your brain, it might have short and long-term benefits for your brain. And we talked too about staying in school in general, and we know education, right? So he's talking about learning something new can help reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. And so encouraging youth to stay in school can help pursue the highest level of training possible. So, continuing to engage in learning, right? So taking a class at your local library, taking advantage of the community resources, sewing. That is something that involves focus and patience, which I don't have. So I might not be taking that one on, but I love all the examples. And again, it really just depends on you and what challenges you. So I just first want to thank Dorothy, Jacqueline, Lori, for your time, your expertise. Not only are you amazing volunteer leaders for the Alzheimer's Association within your communities, but we really appreciate your time and really sharing how you incorporate these healthy habits into your everyday life and everyday routines. And hopefully everyone was able to gain some new tips or ideas, or really challenging you to think about how important brain health is. And so we appreciate you joining us for the ALZ Talks, for joining the discussion. Please remember, we are so excited at the Alzheimer's Association to have launched our new resource, Healthy Habits, at alz.org/healthy habits. And I think the key message here, it's never too early or too late to start incorporating changes for your brain health. We recognize, again, we talked about sleep and physical activity, controlling your blood pressure, managing your diabetes, and challenging your mind as some of the highlights. But we know that these changes can be overwhelming. And so we recommend starting slow, make those changes, and what's easiest for you. I think that's really important. And again, with some of these, also being sure you talk to your provider and they know you best. And then lastly, always reach out and know that the Alzheimer's Association is a resource if anyone has any questions or needs support, not only learning more about brain health and our new Healthy Habits for Your Brain campaign, but really the Alzheimer's Association, we have a 24/7 helpline that's available to anyone at 1-800-272-3900, and specialists are available around the clock 365 days of the year to provide needed assistance in over 200 different languages. And if you are so energized and excited about the information you learned today, we have a brain health education program at the Alzheimer's Association known as Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body. So if you're interested in learning how you can launch this online at our education center, or if you want to find out a class in your community, you can go to our website at alz.org, and you can find out more not only about that education program, but all of our resources and support groups in your local community. And again, the full Healthy Habits list can be viewed at alz.org/healthy habits. So as always, if you have any additional questions or looking for resources, email your questions to alztalks@alz.org. So thank you again, ladies, for your time today and your expertise. And we hope each of you have a very brain healthy day. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.